Welcome to the Align and Inspire podcast. I'm your host, Laura Monique, teacher and curriculum writer turned program mentor and business strategist for coaches, educators, and mentors, and creator of Signature Program Design. I've helped dozens of established coaches like you create their own signature program that creates incredible transformations and consistent growing revenue in their business. Whether you've created a program that felt off in some way, maybe it felt scattered or heavy or just hard to sell, or you know you're delivering results one-on-one and you want to create a more scalable offer, this is the podcast for you. Here you'll find practical strategies, encouragement, and inspiration to create the offer that you will be known for, that feels aligned, and that you are really meant to create to inspire others. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Align and Inspire podcast. I am so thrilled you're here. I hope you're having a beautiful week so far. And in this episode, I want to dive into how I structure my days, my weeks, and my months as a business owner, a coach, and as a mom of two. So I know for me, that I started my business because I wanted to have more freedom with my kids. And even though I have a lot of freedom, it hasn't always been easy to know how to balance and feel like I have enough space and time between both of my responsibilities. And if you're listening to this episode, my guess is you have felt that too. Or maybe you don't have kids, but you're still thinking about how you can really structure your time so that you're balancing sales, marketing, and delivering for your clients. Maybe you want to grow and you're feeling capped with your time, or maybe you're like me and you're curious to hear how other people are structuring their days, their weeks, and their months as a business owner. So if any of that relates to you, this is the episode for you. So I remember when I started my business, at the time, I was teaching full-time and I had all intentions of going back full-time when I came back from maternity leave, but a few months in, because I live in Canada and we have beautiful long maternity leaves here, I was like, oh my gosh, I do not want to leave my baby. I really want to be able to stay at home with my baby part-time and then maybe teach part-time. And I brought it to my school, not my school. I brought it to my district. And there was one old white man who was going to seal my fate, whether or not I was going to be able to do this. And of course, he said no. So I was like, that's okay. Undaunted. I will find someone who is qualified enough to teach what I teach, which is high level French immersion in high school. So that is a very specific skill. There aren't that many teachers that actually are qualified to teach that particular subject, but I was like, that's okay. I'm going to find someone. I found someone. She was lovely. She really wanted to take on my role part-time, brought it to them. They still said no. I talked to my union. I worked with my union. All of these women cooperating behind the scenes, trying to work with me so that I could stay home with my baby part-time. And he refused. So of course I flip and quit. I was like, no man is going to stop me from hanging out and spending time with my baby and dictating how I spend my days. And that's when I started to discover side hustles and running your own business. And I thought maybe this is the solution for me. And that was when I thought I wanted to have more flexibility to be at home with my babies and toddlers, because maternity leave here in Canada at the time was a year long. You could do a year and a half now, but it was a year long at the time. And I wanted to be able to be home with my baby, my toddler. But what I didn't realize was that level of flexibility and freedom was something that I was really going to want as my kids grew older too. So I have, at the time of recording, a 5-year-old. He is in his first year of school. He's in his second week of kindergarten. So you probably heard, if you have been listening to the podcast, a couple podcast episodes ago, he was screaming in the background. Thank God he's back at school. And I have an older son, and he is 8. He's in grade 3. And as my kids are continuing to grow up and continuing to grow, I was really surprised that even though they are both school age now, I still really appreciate having the flexibility and freedom to run my business and be there for my kids. I love being able to pick them up after school. I love being able to go if there's ever any special event at school or like a play or volunteering or a field trip, I can always go with my kids, and I know that they really love to see me there. And I know even as they get older, as teenagers, if they have challenges or struggles or whatever, I know I'm going to be able to be flexible to be there for them. And that's really, really important to me. And if you're listening to this and you're a mom, I'm guessing that's really important to you. And so my business has evolved over time to really keep that as my top priority. And I found that I've had different seasons and different models where that's worked better and it hasn't worked as well, depending upon the model that I've been in. So I have created so many things. Before I even go into how I run my days with a signature program, I wanted to kind of give you some context because I haven't always run signature programs. And part of the reason that I run them now is because it really suits my lifestyle as a mother, as a mom. And so I have done low ticket products. I've done memberships. I've done group programs. I've done one-on-one. I've done for you work. I've done really quite a variety in my business. I am one of those people that likes to try a bunch of different things and has a lot of different ideas, and if you can relate. And some of those models can work well for moms. I'm not saying that they can't, but I know for me, having a signature program really, really was the key because I like digital products. They were so seasonal, and I could create a digital product that went really, really well. And then I could create and spend a ton of time on a digital product that didn't pay me as well. So it's great. I mean, I woke up this morning to, $150 because it's September and my digital products are still selling, which is fantastic. And so there is a lot of freedom in that model, but I didn't really feel like a lot of control. So I didn't have a sense of how much I was going to make every month and really feeling like I was in control of the money I was earning and in my sales system with that low ticket, like it was more of a volume-based, low-ticket digital product model. So I didn't like that one, and eventually I let it go because it didn't really feel like I had control over my revenue. I won't get into the membership. I've done that in previous episodes, but I have run group programs and one-on-ones. But the thing I found with one-on-ones is if ever my kids are sick, if ever they need me for whatever reason, if I ever have to go into school, like one of my sons has asthma and he's had issues and things like that, if ever I need to go get them. When I worked one-on-one, that's been so stressful because then I feel pulled in, like I don't want to cancel on my clients. I really like to be prepared and there for them. But I also want to be there with my kids. And if my day is full of one-on-ones, like I feel really like it almost feels like I've got another job. Right. And then when I was doing Done For You, the same thing, it felt like heavy and like on, it just, even though it was more maybe on my own time, it didn't really work for me. And I didn't really feel like I was structuring it the way that I wanted to. And even when I ran group programs, because that's the distinction I've been thinking about recently, like what's the difference between a signature program and a group program? To me, a group program is basically like one-on-ones, but you're doing it in a group. So you have live group calls, but people need to show up to your group calls to get a result. And there isn't enough structure outside of the group program in order for them to get results if they don't show up to calls. So I have run that model before as well. And then I felt very like I needed to show up all the time. Like I always needed to show up. I needed to do extra one-on-ones. I needed to do group calls. I could never take a week off. I needed to show up. At one point, I think I had 2 group calls a week plus the one-on-one. So it felt like if I didn't show up, my clients wouldn't get the results. So I always felt like I needed to show up. And it was a lot of pressure. And so the reason I love a signature program now is because like last week, when I messed up my schedule and thought that I had my son's first week of school, but I actually needed to be there, which was quite a surprise to me. My clients were still getting results and still making progress because I have so much structure in my signature program already that I don't always need to show up for them to get results. And I have different structures in place that I do show up regularly, but even if I'm not there, there's enough existing material that they can work through, that they can get support from one another, that even if I'm not there, at all times, they're still moving forward and making progress. So that's why I really like this model. And that's what I want to have as like a context for this episode of how I run my business, my signature program based business in my months, my days, and my weeks. So let's dive into first my monthly routine. So I'm going to go wide and then go narrow. My monthly routine, which I use to bring in clients regularly. So I have tried the big launches, and some people love big launches. It's not to say you can't run a big launch. If that's what you want to do, by all means, go for it. But I found it really stressful, and I prefer to have fewer people come in with more consistency and more predictability in my business. So I run an evergreen model in my business. So that means I have a limited number of spots that I bring people in every month into my program. And then people get support for 4 months. And then most people end up renewing to get more support to continue on. So someone might join because they have a group program, but they want to add more structure, more like they want to have a curriculum. They want to streamline how they're running it. They want it to feel a little bit lighter. They want to feel like really so they can scale it, right? So that might be why someone comes into my program and gets 4 months of support. But then as she starts growing it and more people come in, you get new problems of like, oh, can I really support? Like last time I ran, like I had a client right now, last time she ran her program, she wanted 17 and she hit her goal of 17 people. And she had so many people who were still interested in what she had to, and with her alumni who wanted to continue working with her and new people, she had all these people who were really interested in her program. And so she ended up opening it up to 27 people. And so now she's continuing to work with me because now we're looking at how is she balancing her renewals, like her alumni, with her existing clients? How is she bringing in those new clients? Does she have the right systems and structure to support that many people? So I really love this model for me. I can have people on that evergreen model so I can support you for 4 months. But then if you decide to renew, I can continue supporting you as you grow your program and those different challenges that might come up as you grow in your business, right? So that's the model that I really like. I really like having that evergreen model. And I have basically like a monthly cohort. So when you come in, there's a small limited number of seats that you can join in a specific designated month. And then I integrate you into the program, into the group. And we have different ways to make sure that you're really connected into the community. I really want to make sure that my onboarding is very strong and supportive. So I limit the number of people that can come in each month. And then I do it all again the next month. So the other thing that I want to share about my monthly routine, so I run an evergreen and I didn't want to do those big launches. The other thing that I knew I wanted to do is I wanted to cycle sync my business. And so if you've never heard of what that means, it's knowing your cycle in your business, your menstrual cycle, and knowing where you're at hormonally in your business can really, really help you really maximize each phase for you. And I run my business on those phases. And one of the women that I actually learned this from, her name is Renee Fiek. She and I are doing a collaboration right now. And I read her book even before I collaborated with her. And I really, really loved it. It was really, really helpful to figure out how I wanted to match up my business kind of goals to where I was at in my cycle. So I will link up her book below in the show notes so you can check it out if you are interested. So she's a really great resource to learn about that. But basically what I do is when I had created when I did a bigger launch, when I was running my membership, I was so beyond stressed. Like I was nauseous. I felt like I was going to throw up. Like my fear was honestly debilitating. And when I learned more about cycle syncing, I realized that I wasn't actually helping myself. I ended up launching in a phase that was really not for me to launch in. And so I know when I run webinars and when I have sales calls, things like that, I want to be in the right cycle, like the right phase of my cycle. So I feel really able to show up in that way and to be more like visible. Like if you ever have a fear of visibility, like this is so helpful for you. Like I feel really good being visible in those phases. So I purposely set up my ads during those phases. I run my sales calls, any of my workshops, free series, any of those kinds of things. I run in a specific part of my cycle when I'm more open to those kind of like, I think of it as like the spring and summer versions of my cycle. That is when I run any of those. And then I don't when I'm in maybe more like reserved or reflective phases in my cycle. So the way I run my month based on that knowledge is that, and you can think about this for you too, if you want to think about cycle syncing your business. I like to have weeks where I'm really focused in more on running the business and delivery and maybe changing things behind the scenes. I'm always updating my program. And then I like to have weeks where I'm more forward facing and I'm thinking about marketing and selling my program. So I don't actually have like week 1, I do this, week 2, I do this, week 3, I do this, week 4, I do this. I run it based on when I look at my cycle and my calendar. I first choose, because I run monthly at the time of recording, it might change in the future, but right now I was running monthly webinars, but it felt like it wasn't quite enough for me. I like to run a series now because people can really get to know me. I can create a real experience. It just feels more like my style. I'm not like fire hosing you with content, which is one of the things I really am big on people not doing. So I like to create an experience, and I know I'm going to do a series most months. I might not do one like this year in like December, for example, but oftentimes I'll do a series. So the first thing I do when I plan out my month is I will look at my cycle and decide what days are going to work for me. And also for my launch manager and client success manager, I want to make sure that she can be there for me because she helps me with the launch, even though it's smaller because I do a monthly, right? So I choose the dates of my series. When am I going to do my series? When am I going to have any follow-up calls with people who are interested in learning more about my program? I make sure to block those out. Then I think back from there, because I'm always doing it regularly and have a structure for it. Then we move back, like, what do we need to change about the funnel? Make sure that my ads are running. We get those set up. Like today, I was updating my ads so that I'm optimizing my ads basically. And so that everything is based on that. So I might have like first, say if it's week 3, I'm doing my scalable signature program series. Say I would do that in week 3. So then I know in week 2, I need to make sure that my funnel's all up to like ready to go. So then in week 1, I'm optimizing anything I have to change in my funnel. Week 2, I'm going to be running my ads, updating, making sure everything's rolling and good to go. Then in week 3, I'm running my series. And then in week 4, I'm running any calls and I have my cart open period. And then I close the cart and then welcome everyone in the following month. And that's my big focus for week 1 really is when I'm having people join in, making sure they're all onboarded, ready to go. So that's kind of how I am running based on my cycle. And it's really largely dependent on when I'm going to be running that series. The other thing we look at, and this is more for in my team with my client success manager, we'll look at where is everyone in the month and when in their season or their phase. And if we have any renewals coming up, we'll look at that at the beginning of the month so then we can reach out to them before their support runs out at the end of the month. So that's kind of how we structure the monthly routine in the business, is to bring my real goals to bring in clients regularly so that I know I don't stress myself out that I need to have, one big launch every 6 months, and I can really support them regularly rather than having this huge influx. So that's what I do monthly. Then from there, how do I run my weeks to balance client delivery, marketing, and sales? So the thing I'm going to say right now is I don't feel like I've really nailed this the way that I want. I really like my monthly rhythm. I don't know that my weekly rhythm is quite on where I want to be, because up until now, I've really been refining and focusing in on my funnel and making sure my sales strategy works. I haven't been spending as much time on marketing, even though I run my podcast here and I post on Instagram. One of my goals for quarter 4 is to really become more visible, work on my marketing more, now that I have a sales system that's working reasonably well for me. I'm always optimizing. I always want to improve things. But that's one thing that I'm working on is how am I going to make sure that I have time for my marketing? Because my days, which I'll get into shortly, are usually about 9 to 2. So my weekly routine, what I have right now, it may shift, but what I have right now, generally speaking, is I take calls Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. On Monday, I was meeting with my team, but we've moved that to Thursday so I can have a full day on Monday where we can both do like more deeper work. So that's my goal for Mondays. Like I plan out my week. Every week, I make sure that I look over anything that needs to be done. I choose my priorities for the week. Any deep work that I want to do is done on Mondays. On Fridays, sometimes I meet bi-weekly. I meet with my peer mastermind, which I really recommend you get one. If you know get yourself a group of people that you can connect with. So I meet with them bi-weekly on Fridays. Their odd time, I might have a one-on-one call on Fridays, but by and large, it's fairly open. So again, I can do that deep work. And it's also my buffer time. If I don't have space to finish anything during the week, I try to finish it on Fridays. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is when I have my calls. Now, the one thing I will say is my series, sometimes I'll do it on a Monday. Usually I'll do it on a Tuesday and a Thursday. And then I have my own group, Signature Program Design, on Tuesday mornings. And then usually outside of that, I might have either one-on-one calls with me with my clients, or if there's anyone who's thinking about working with me and wants to hear more about my programs, I would meet with them at Tuesday through Thursday. One thing I'm thinking about doing that I've heard recently is having 1 week off from calls total every month. I've never tried that, but it might be something that I think about. But right now, my calls are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The other thing to think about that might be helpful for you is I have a boundary now. At one point, I was getting so many one-on-one calls and they were booking up right away. So I would have a plan for my day and then I'd look the next day and I'd have all these calls, which is not what I want to do. So now I have a boundary for myself that you need to book with me 5 days in advance. So then I know, like on Monday, when I go to plan my week, I know what my week is going to look like and I won't have like surprise calls, like hijacking my day. So I know that I can get the work done that I need to. So that's really important to me. So currently my calls are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and I have my Signature Program Design on Tuesdays. I even have a flow for like on Fridays, I write my broadcast, like my weekly newsletter that's going to go out on Saturday. Now I have a posting schedule on Instagram. So I post Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I like to have a rhythm within my weeks. And the reason I love this personally, and it might work for you, is the more you can lessen your decision fatigue by already deciding those smaller decisions, the more space and energy you'll have for bigger projects. So I know I always want to post on Instagram. I know I want to be consistent with my emails. So I have specific days that I do that during the week. So I know that they're going to get done. I do need to choose a day for my podcast because at the time of this recording, that's what I'm telling you, it's not perfect because I also was on the summer schedule. And now I'm in the fall schedule now that my kids are back. It's not perfect. And literally my podcast is supposed to go out tomorrow. And my wonderful podcast editor, Rebecca, if you're listening to this, I'm sure you are, is doing it the day before. And I do not like to do that. So I'm going to batch and then I'll have a day for podcasts, just like I have a day for all of the other marketing that I do. So that is like what I was saying is I want to make more of a flow for marketing within my week. But that's kind of how my week rolls. So daily routine and how I run my business and pick up my kids from school. So I have about 9 to 2 to basically get everything done in my business. Now, it's not always that way. So I usually work about 25 hours a week, I would say. I do track my time, which really helps, but I run it basically in 25 hours a week. So in the mornings, I would love to tell you that I wake up before my kids, but I definitely do not. I wake up with my kids around 7. Sometimes I wake up before them if they sleep in, but as they're getting slightly older now. That was never our reality when they were younger. But so I usually get up around with them. I get my coffee and then basically I spend the morning getting my kids ready for school. Like I make lunches, we get them dressed and out the door. I'm basically making sure that they're all ready. And the only thing I do for myself when they get up or when I get up is I drink water and I have a coffee. That is truly it. Then my lovely husband takes them to school and that's around at like 8:15. So I have 45 minutes before I want to start my workday to do any kind of morning routine, which honestly feels fast now, but it is such a luxury when I think about it because I used to run my business truly like on nap times and on way fewer hours. So I do recognize that it's not the case for everyone. And it is a really beautiful thing that I have right now that I run my business full time and my kids are in full-time school. So for that, usually what I like to do is I try to do 10 to 20 minutes of yoga every morning, yoga or Pilates or bar work, whatever. I'm in a membership that I absolutely love. So I try to do that right away. I have a morning smoothie. And then if I'm having an off day, I might do a little bit of journaling or I might have a shower and wash my hair. If not, I'll shower at night. Sometimes I need to wash my hair. You know how it is. If I'm doing some video recording or things like that, I want my hair to look reasonable. And then I get ready and I start my day at 9. So I was finding at one point that I wasn't exercising enough. I was focusing basically all on like work and my kids. And so I knew that I needed to incorporate more exercise into my regular day. So now I find it easier just to like, it's easier to do the same thing every day than it is to decide which days you're going to do it. So now I've just decided every single weekday I do some sort of training, like yoga or strength training or whatever it is, a bar or whatever. And then I try to walk on my walking pad every day. So that is my morning. And I try to sit down by 9. I clean up the kitchen a little bit too, generally speaking. Sometimes it's a bit hard to squish it all into 45 minutes, but that's usually my goal. And then I work from 9 or 9:30 until 2 o'clock. And again, I've planned out my day too, so I can make the most of those 5 hours or 4.5 hours. And then at 2 o'clock, I finish up, make sure I know what I'm going to do for tomorrow. And then I go to pick up my kids from school. And then honestly, for the rest of the evening, by and large, it is my kids. I don't really do anything else for the business unless there's something like yesterday. I had some issues with my videos that I was recording ads and I had to update a little bit of it. But by and large, I don't really do anything after my kids are home. Even if I feel like I need to, maybe it's different for you, but I don't know. I always end up prioritizing my kids, which is sometimes to my own, it creates my own stress. But I try to really be have a clear boundary that at 2 o'clock or 2:15, that's it. I'm going to go get my kids and I'm present with them. I might listen to a podcast on the way to school, but I'm not working. And then from there, we're doing, like coming home, having our snack routine. I'm cleaning up, I'm making dinner, taking them to soccer, taking them to dance class, playing. We're really into board games at the moment. So we're playing board games and then doing our bedtime routine. And really, my oldest is 8, but he basically goes to bed at the same time as me. So for the evening, it's pretty much my kids and I. So that's that's how I run my day. Again, I really when I was doing like done for you work, I found like it would bleed into my evening. So like I'd have my kids and then would still be on my mind and then I would do more at night. Or when I had my group program, again, like if I ever had like my kids needed me or my kids were home from school sick, it always felt really difficult to manage it all. But because I've got this structure now, it really, really helps. And the big thing that I'm working on right now is making sure I have space for marketing and also for updating my program content. So I hope that this was helpful for you to how I'm running my business at the moment and how I'm running my days and weeks and months as a business owner, as a coach, and with a signature program model and as a mom. If you found this helpful, I would love, love, love to hear from you. And if you are interested in actually hearing more about signature program design, if it would be a good fit for you, you can get on the wait list. Send me a message on Instagram, lauramonique.business, and we'll put it in the show notes as well. And you can send me an Instagram message saying waitlist, and I can add you, give you all the details, and let you know a little bit more about what the program looks like. So thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Align and Inspire podcast, and I will see you